What is up, guys? Welcome in. Hey, happy Monday. Starting off a new week here. Boy, do we get to have some fun today. See if it's working. Let's see if it's working. All right, there we go.
Till broadcast.
Thank you, Mrs. Voice of Reason. Got a lot to talk about today. No guest today. You and I chit in the chat. We have, oh man, reparations. Apparently in the state of California, in San Francisco specifically. We have the debt ceiling coming up on Thursday. We have the latest national or international study. Where is all the money going worldwide? We'll talk about that today as well. Hey, how was your guys' weekend? As we get everything moving along here. Dun dun. Did you guys know Michelle Obama came out with a new book? Anybody aware of that? Aren't you going to read it? Aren't you excited? The Light We Carry. Sounds like a book I have to run out and get. Yeah.
One minute till broadcast.
Only a minute. Whatever will we do? Hey, by the way, if you listen to Armed American Radio with Mark Walters, I filled in for his program today, Armed American Radio's Daily Defense. We had some fun with him as he was traveling to the SHOT Show in Las Vegas. So that was cool. Got to fill in for him. Maybe we'll do that again later on this week. If you are watching the live streams, welcome aboard. Welcome, welcome. Like it out, share it out, leave a comment.
30 seconds till broadcast.
Break those social media algorithms. Oh, yeah, and happy Martin Luther King Day. We'll talk about some of that, kick off the program as well. It's a Monday. Hang tight. Let's have some fun.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Begin transmission.
Currently 62 degrees.
Fighting for freedom every day.
Republicans right now, the conservatives, which unfortunately, this is what we have to do every time, even after a vote where people are sick and tired of the establishment, they're sick and tired of the squeezy, middle-of-the-road, squishy kind of Republican rhinos, and we vote conservatives in, then we have to fight tooth and nail in D.C. to actually be heard within the Republican Party.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Darn right it is. Hey, happy Monday to you. Welcome into the program. It is another week. We are 3 weeks into January. Think about that. Let that settle in for just a second. 3 weeks officially into the month of 2023. Oh, how the time flies. Welcome into the show. Happy Monday. Great to have you for the ride today. This is The Voice of Reason. I am Andy Hooser, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas on our flagship radio station. We are all over the country, radio, TV, live streaming, and podcasting. However you watch or listen to the show. Your Millennial General reporting for duty as we love you every single day. Big show. There is so much to talk about today. I have no clue how we're going to cram it in. I just got done filling in for Armed American Radio's Daily Defense with Mark Walters. If anybody listens to that program, great talk show talking about Second Amendment issues. I filled in for him as he was traveling to the SHOT Show in Las Vegas today. And I had a laundry list of topics to get to with his program, and I got to like maybe 20% of it. I feel like this program's going to be the same way today, so we'll do the best that we can. First off, happy Martin Luther King Day to you, which is where we kind of want to start with the show today. Obviously, I think the message of Martin Luther King needs to be resounded and needs to be focused on what's going on in the world today because there seems to be a lot of division. And I'm not going to run down the list of the history of the Democrat Party, the history of the Republican Party, the division, the identity politics that they play. But I have to ask, and especially those in the minority communities across the country, wherever you may be listening to the show or podcast or video or however you pay attention to us, which first off, thank you. But I ask you, for someone that's in a minority community, are you better or worse off under Democrat policies than what you were 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago? It's a very simple concept because the progressives who blame Republicans about being racist, who claim that we're divisive, who claim that we're Nazis, who claim that we're the dividing ones. We're the ones that don't care about certain groups of individuals, whether it's skin color, sexual orientation, whatever box they try to put us in. And you know how much I love talking about identity politics on this program. In Martin Luther King Day, we should go back to the message of the person that was actually talking at that time, right? On what he was actually trying to say and why he was not allowed to say that, which led to his unfortunate death and untimely death as he was trying to speak about peace and trying to speak about everybody getting along together. Now, the side that's been the party of slavery, been the party of the Jim Crow laws, been the party of divisiveness, they're the ones that say, in order to end this madness, we need to put people in deeper boxes about what they should believe, what they should feel, the way they should vote, how they should think about the world. We're going to put them in this box and make them separate from other people that have different boxes. Again, of religion or skin color or whatever else, blah, blah, blah. Their idea of ending racism is by creating division and racism. I'm not quite sure how that works or why that actually happens, which is why we now have the discussion between, is the world and is the United States now a melting pot or is it a mosaic? Do we have fluidity between different cultures and religions and people in different communities? Or are we so fragmented that now we're more of a mosaic where we have a different color here, a different color over here, a different color over here, and now we're there together, but we're fragmented amongst each other because we're not fluid amongst one another? Something to think about. Because the Democrats love, again, their division based on ending division through division. You can see the universities where they're doing black-only campuses and dorm rooms. They're doing women versus men, which I guess that makes sense in colleges, especially with the dorm rooms there, especially. But when you try to create the identity politics, you create the box, and then you're supposed to think differently than the different box that's over there. That's exactly the opposite of what Martin Luther King actually spoke about during his time. There was a clip that I want to play, and it's about 4 minutes long. It's a little bit long here, but during my local program over the weekend here in the Wichita area where our flagship station is, I had one of our state representatives come in, Patrick Penn of the Wichita area, and his two sons, they're 11 and they're 8, had a school project, the 11-year-old, had a school project of presenting something to the class. And they tackled mimicking and memorizing the Martin Luther King speech of the I Have a Dream, a portion of it, not only with the speech itself, but the dialect and everything that went along with it. And it's a remarkable rendition of it on the importance of, I think, what we need to focus on today. And after hearing it on Saturday, I had to play it on the program today for Martin Luther King Day. And I think it's going to be kind of an annual thing for us because we need to remember exactly what was said then and whether the side that says they are the party of the minority and of Martin Luther King is actually holding up to that value.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered this speech at the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. on August 28, 1963. He was speaking to a huge crowd of people who had marched into Washington in support of civil rights legislation. I say to you today, my friends, so even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners, will they be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood? I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they'll not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that every valley shall be exalted, that every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is the faith that I go back to the south with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. This will be the day. This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with new meaning. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. So let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania. Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. Let freedom ring from the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And when this happens, when we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual. Free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
There it is. I think it's kind of a resounding message to be sent today for Martin Luther King Day, and it really does resonate on which side is promoting that. And imagine that, if you will. Did you hear part of it? When we can work together, when we can pray together, when we can live together, when we can go about our day together by not basing it on a skin color or based on the character of someone. It seems there's a vast contrast in policymaking between progressives who say, let's do identity politics, put people in a certain box, and conservatives that are saying, hey, we don't care. Just live your life. Now, I want to try and tie that into something that was presented, when was this? Today, actually. And this, according to Fox News. Let's go out to the state of California, shall we, with our latest and what's trending.
What's trending today?
So, state of California has been working on reparations, apparently, for a long time. For those in the minority community, apparently, are you looking for your mule and 5 acres, which is what they said you were going to get when slavery ended? Because, you know, the government, when they try to give you something, there's always strings attached to it. For I don't know totally why, but progressives love to be able to have those strings attached to make sure that you always vote them back into power to continue to give you those things. There is a new proposal in San Francisco by the Reparations Committee. Why they even have such a thing blows my mind. But nonetheless, they have a reparations committee proposing $5 million to every black longtime resident, along with canceling any type of debt for the individual. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. The proposal would give $5 million in granting total debt forgiveness due to decades of, quote, systematic repression faced by the local black community in San Francisco. Fox News reports that according to the San Francisco African American Reparations Advisory Committee, the city is developing the plan for reparations for black residents released in its draft report for not for slavery, since California was not technically a slave state. Wait, what? Hold on a second. It's reparations, but it's not for slavery. So what is it for? It's not for that because California was not a slave state, but, quote, to address the public policies explicitly created to subjugate black people in San Francisco by upholding and expanding the intent and legacy of slavery. Quote, while neither San Francisco nor California formally adopted the institution of slavery, the tenets of segregation, white supremacy, and systematic repression and exclusion of black people were codified through legal and extra-legal actions, social codes, and judicial enforcement, end quote, according to the draft. Now, I want to respond by saying, in today's times, can we not identify as whatever we want to? What if everybody in California self-identified now as a longtime resident of African-American descent? Where's the qualifications, by the way, here? I mean, obviously the draft is going to have some type of, you have to live in the state for a certain amount of, for so long that you have to be a certain percentage of black or African-American. But good golly, $5 million, a one-time payment of $5 million. Is that really going to solve the issue? Honestly? If you just hand someone $5 million off the streets and you say, here you go, sorry for all the tension that we've created for you, sorry for all the division, all the struggle that we've created for you, here's $5 million. That is our way of saying we're sorry for what you've had to go through. Is that really going to solve an issue in any way, shape, or form? It may solve your conscience, but it doesn't really solve anything. And by the way, I'm still curious about this whole systematic repression. Was there some? Yes, but where does it end? Because there was systematic repression against, especially in California, the Asian community when they were being forced as slaves to build the railroads across the nation. The Native Americans that were in California as well. How come they're not getting reparations? And when will that lawsuit begin for them to be able to get certain reparations? See the slippery slope here?
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Andy Hooser here, reminding you not only can you listen to the Voice of Reason on your favorite radio station, but also check out the video of the program on TV and online. We're excited to be working with our partners over at OpsLens to bring the Voice of Reason live every day on their website at opslens.com, on the OpsLens app that you can download on any of your smartphones, or on any of the OpsLens social media. It's a great network that broadcasts multiple shows promoting truth, reason, and common sense, reaching thousands of viewers every day, all day long. Plus, while you're there, you can always watch some of the best highlights of the show during the weekends or read our latest opinion columns on topical issues of the day. Also, if you want to interact with me during the program, just leave a comment on their social media or the OpsLens app stream. You can always join the live chat rooms, or if it's easier, just email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Again, that's HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. This is your show, and we want to hear from you. Why? Because it's time for you to be your own voice of reason in your own community. Looking for more reason? Well, now you can get even more content from the Voice of Reason through our Patreon site. It's your exclusive membership for being the ultimate Hoosier-holic. On our Patreon, you'll get additional interviews and content that we don't get to air on the radio, behind-the-scenes action from the Hooser Media Network, plus one-on-one video streams where you can catch up with me, guests of the show, and other great Voice of Reason supporters. Plus, you can also support the show by checking out our gear and swag. Find the link on our website at HooserReason.com. Again, that's HooserReason.com. Become the ultimate Hoosier-holic. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or send us a message through our website at HooserReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or find our contact information at HooserReason.com. Hey, it's Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. The show's growing all the time, and as we talk about the big issues of the day, one of the big parts of the program is you. And I want you to join us on the program. Whether you agree, disagree, or just want to relieve some of that political frustration, we're here for you. No matter where you may be watching, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, go ahead and leave a comment on the live stream. Chat with other listeners and let me know your thoughts on the topic. Also chat with us on the Podbean chat room. Just go to our live stream of the show at podbean.com and chat with other listeners. You can also call into the program. Just download the Podbean app onto your smartphone, join the live stream, and call in through the app. This is your show, and we want to hear your thoughts. So go ahead and join us here on the Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with the Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hoosier-holic by going to HooserReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hooser Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HooserReason.com. For a schedule of upcoming guests on the program, daily show topics, or to reach out to the Hooser Media Network, visit us on the website. Or for general inquiries, to be a guest on the program, or to have Andy a guest on your program, email us at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Keep fighting for freedom with us every day right here on the Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network. Now, back to the show.
Fighting for freedom every day. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Darn right it is. By the way, I got to give a big shout out to Jaden and Josiah, the two kids, 11 and 8 years old, who ended up doing that rendition, 4-minute long rendition of Martin Luther King's speech, I Have a Dream. I couldn't have memorized that at 8 years old, or 11 years old, so kudos to you guys. Hat tip off to you guys because you're amazing. And you know what, Papa? You're raising them right to be able to teach that and understand the real. It's a State Representative Patrick Penn here in my state here in the state of Kansas. Solid conservative guy, a firebrand up in our state legislature. We absolutely love him to death, and it's he's the dad of those two, Jaden and Josiah, that was able to recite that speech. It really does drive it home. Again, the left needs to re-listen to something like that. They can't claim that they hold on to the power and control over the minority community when they're the ones doing exactly opposite of what that's saying. Well, they said to work together, to pray together, to judge someone based on their character, not based on their skin color. You're literally setting up division and mosaics in the country as opposed to the melting pot of you are a certain group, so therefore you have to stay within this box. Identity politics that has created the conquer and divide mentality for the left in this country is absolutely spiteful. Now we have reparations being proposed in the city of San Francisco, California, of $5 million, and to wipe away. You would think if you have debt that the $5 million would just be able to pay off that debt, but no, they're going to give you $5 million and wipe away all of your debt for the quote-unquote systematic repression that's been going on in California and the state of San Francisco. Not necessarily for slavery, because it wasn't a slave state nor a slave city, but for the reparations. I'm telling you, if I remember correct, and again, I'm being a millennial, being a little bit younger, I was born, I'm going to age myself here, but I was born in 1988. I seem to remember, based on the culture, based on the pop culture, based on the, that 80s show and everything else, that the 80s and 90s seemed to be a relatively good time after the civil rights movement where everybody was getting along. There was the crossing of cultures, and the black community was able to bring up some of their rap and hip hop into the mainstream. It started blowing up, music and TV shows, and there was this blending of the cultures, and everybody was happy, hunky-dory. Coincidentally, it was happening after the Ronald Reagan administration, when conservatives took over and ended a lot of the division between the country after the civil rights movement. What a shocker! I could be wrong on that, and if I am, you can email me, HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com, but it seemed like the 80s and 90s seemed to be a great time for the cultures to be together and not worrying about this division and not worrying about racism and not worrying about the skin color of someone or what they look like in some way, shape, or form. Then we got into the 90s and 2000s when Democrats started taking hold again, and all of a sudden we got to the Barack Obama era where we had Black Lives Matter, and we had Antifa, and we had all these other groups, and we had the woke industry come about to where even if you mentioned that in a movie or music, then it had to be censored. You couldn't get along, but instead you had to be divisive. You had to be separate. The separate but equal. That seems vaguely familiar as well, doesn't it? During the civil rights movement, separate but equal. That's what they're doing now. Oh yeah, we're all equal. We just going to want to go live on our own part over here and do our own thing. We don't want to be around other individuals. It seems like we've lost that fluidity. We've lost that melting pot style under the last, 10, 20 years in the 2000s and the late 90s and 2000s. We've lost that when Democrats took control again, and the woke mob, who's apologizing for their whiteness and their masculinity in some way, shape, or form, took over. Or at least they're the loud minority that's causing a lot of havoc within public schools and in populations in general. But when they came about, that's when division started happening again, as the ones that say they want to end the identity politics and racism as well. It's mind-blowing, isn't it? It really makes you think. And it really thinks that the opposite effect that it's having compared to what they say they wanted, is it just a coincidence? Or was that really the true cause by the elites and by the establishment and by the higher-ups that say they wanted to end it, but they're still the ones that created it in the first place that wanted to continue on just under the false pretense that we're all getting along, holding hands, singing Kumbaya. The things that make you go, All right, we got to take another break here. When we come back, we'll shift gears a little bit from that. Happy Martin Luther King Day. Let's remember the real message, and let's move forward together, fighting the true issues in this country. Lots more. Stay here.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You know, when I get off the air every day, the battle for me against limited government, censorship, and even unfactual content is far from over. That's why now I'm so happy to say that the Hooser Media Network is giving you more opportunity to catch the Voice of Reason along with other great shows and podcasts. It's been a long time in the works, and now you can finally enjoy more great content, services, and topical shows. We're the safe space for alternative talk, information, and ideas that the mainstream media absolutely hates. From holistic and alternative medicine, discussions on religion and spirituality, pure entertainment shows, and of course yours truly with the Voice of Reason. Plus, we offer numerous media services, including helping you set up your own podcast, become your own Voice of Reason, and bring your expertise to any fun issue or topic. For information on all of our shows, links to podcasts, each show website or social media link, or to find out about everything we do to challenge the mainstream establishment, visit our website at HooserMedia.com. Again, that's HooserMedia.com, the future of media. Welcome to the Hooser Media Network. It's been a long time coming, and now it's growing bigger and better than we ever imagined. The Hooser Media Network is so much more than just the Voice of Reason. It's a network for you as a listener and you as a podcaster. It's a network for any kind of talk on any kind of topic, bringing podcasters together to give you a new way to think about the world, and it's any type of show from entertainment to educational. Check out all of our great programs, like Dr. Devin Verana with If They Knew.
Yeah, and it gives you tangible tools. I mean, I'm sure she just mentioned that some people might be mad at the government. I just can't imagine.
No.
I think there's a little bit of anger in the world these days, but I was listening to Wayne Dyer this morning, and he said, if you grab an orange and you squeeze it, what comes out? Juice. What kind of juice? Orange juice every time, right? It's not going to be apple juice. It's never going to be mango juice. It's always going to be orange juice. So whatever is in us is going to come out when we're squeezed. And so I'm sure you're learning that, like, taking yourself through this process continually just adds more and more power, more and more depth of compassion and joy and freedom and all those good feeling things, because you're clearing that space out.
Yes, exactly.
I love it. Now take people, so for anybody listening out there that might have an object of anger, whether it's somebody or something or, objects out in the world these days, take us into some tactical, practical things that they can do. Number one, I'm sure, is to come see you, but what are some other things?
So I skipped that one on purpose when I was going through this, but the first book that changed my life, and I listened to it before I signed up for I listened to her 1 hour Zoom before I signed up for the class. She was interviewing a man who told us about a book called The Four Agreements. And so then when you get into the class, we study the book called Forgive for Good by Fred Luskin. And we went through a process by Michael Brown called The Presence Process. These are all 3 books. And I hate to be this honest, but let me be this honest. You can read those 3 books and know everything I'm going to teach you. But like any good class, I mean, just because I signed up for a class in college, I buy the books. You really need someone to guide you through them.
That, plus tune into Spiritual Smorgasbord with Desiree and Cheyenne.
It is, and we talked about that because then, of course, other things started to happen after that. Of course, that was not my last doctor's visit, by no means. However, we talked about it, and I thought, our ancestors were so smart. They know, whatever ails us, there's a cure for on this planet. We're just not smart enough to know how to use it, but our ancestors were. We need to get back to that. Modern medicine, basically what that is it is what you get from the plant, the healing benefit, just on steroids with side effects.
Yes.
And so a lot of people, modern medicine is considered sexy. It's fast resolving. It's instant gratification. But, and so like plant-based formula, the raw, natural plant-based formula is what is going to work. It's going to be great. It just takes a while. And people want that instant gratification.
Oh, yes.
So a lot of people try
It's been marketed
something.
to them that way too.
It
They're like,
has.
oh, that's the old way. It's going to take you forever. But if you just take this, you wake up tomorrow and you can have whatever you want.
Exactly.
You can do whatever you want.
But at what cost?
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
My leg is broken, but have some Oxycontin.
Yes.
You know, it's like,
Right.
dude, your leg is still severely broken. You just can't feel anything.
Yeah. And it's like, so let's go to nature. Let's see.
Yeah.
You know what? There's pain relievers in nature. Marijuana is a great pain reliever.
Yes.
For one. I mean, you know, just
Mentally and physically.
Yes. Well, I mean, you know, but there's other remedies out there. And everything that ails us, there's a cure for on this planet.
This whole room smells like peppermint.
We're all getting cured
We're all
now.
getting cured right now. It's a beautiful essential oil I bought from a local, I guess you could say apothecary shelf, but I'm getting healed right now.
Yes, exactly. It is. And it's all around us. We just need to know how to look for it. And I'm sorry, but that's kind of what we were discussing. And that kind of was what started this this whole journey. And what I'm very fortunate that, you know, my spouse and I are together on this. It's not just one of us having a spiritual journey. It's
Yeah.
that we're doing this together.
Listen to those shows and so much more on our website, where you can find live streaming, links to the podcast, links to social media, more content, and so much more. It's all online at HooserMedia.com.
When Reason Meets Radio. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Yes, indeed it is. Welcome back into the program here on a Monday. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Trying to cram that 10 pounds of reason into that 5-pound bag. Trying to rebrand the millennial generation one radio listener at a time. That's what we're all about. Got a lot more to get to here as we move through it. Talking about opposite land, while the Democrats say they're about trying to bring everybody together in equality. Remember, and they see it's equal outcome. It doesn't need to be equal outcome. It needs to be equal opportunity. And then what you put into it is what you sow at the end of the day. How much you actually tend it to your garden is how much you're actually going to get rewards when you harvest at the end of the season. They don't like that. They just want to be able to put the seed in and just walk away and come back and be rich and fruitful at the end of it. And it just doesn't work that way. Again, the opposite land, while they say they actually care about you, you can see how much they really don't. At the same time, the Great Reset, I don't mean to be the Debbie Downer today for a Monday, but let's go into what's trending.
What's trending today?
What's trending today? Well, the Great Reset has officially begun, not to concern anybody or anything, but the reset has begun. There was a headline on the international reports globally of where the money went during the COVID-19 pandemic for the last 3 years. Where the money's gone. The richest 1% of one individuals amassed almost 2/3 of new wealth created over the last 2 years, according to the study. Whoa! Let's read that again. The richest 1% consumed 2/3 of all the new wealth that was created, according to the Oxfam study. Since 2020, the richest 1% of people have accumulated close to 2/3 of all new wealth created around the world, according to the report. Taxes, according to some, must be increased for the ultra-rich as the, quote, strategic precondition to reducing inequality and resuscitating democracy, according to Oxfam International. A total of $42 trillion in new wealth has been created since 2020, with $26 trillion, or 63% of that being amassed by the top 1%. The remaining 99% collected just $16 trillion of new wealth across the poverty line. So here's the question for you. While we have the richest 1% gaining 2/3 of all that money, where'd the rest of it go, and why did it all centralize in the top 1%, and what needs to be done to rectify that situation? Well, you can go one of two ways here, at least in my opinion. Number one is you can take the progressive left-wing liberal approach of saying, well, they're the evil ultra-rich. Let's go ahead and attack them, redistribute their wealth, tax them at a lot higher rate, and then give us our reparations as the low income, because now we're going from the white-black issue to now the rich-poor issue. Another great a great dividing factor for the left-wing progressive Democrats who love to create the divide and conquer mentality. Now we need to go this way and say, okay, no longer do we have the white-black. Now we have the rich-poor. You're the evil rich. The top 1% gained all this money. We need reparations from them by these social programs to take care of us and make sure that our programs are properly funded, to make sure that we get the benefits of these social programs because we are entitled to such. You need to pay your fair share. That's what we've heard. More socialism, more control. I mean, if you're going to take away from the top 1%, who's going to do that? The only people that can do that is the government. How are you going to give the government power to do that? Well, you're going to allow government to go into private industry, into the private sector, into the individual or the corporation, and say, we now have more control over you to take your wealth, to tax your wealth, to redistribute it amongst other individuals and share it. The Robin Hood mentality, right? Except for if you read Robin Hood, then you actually know that that's the opposite of what happened, because Robin Hood was not stealing from the rich to give to the poor. He was stealing from the government that was forcefully taking it away from people and giving it back to the people. So sorry, Bernie Sanders, it doesn't quite work that way.
It is totally absurd.
I know, but you are, in fact.
You are fake news.
So now we can go one of two ways. We can either go that route, which seems to be the ongoing case, because that is the greatest and biggest, let's go ahead and hate other people, redistribution of wealth, if I can speak today, communism, socialism, because that's what it is. If you take over an industry, then you are essentially implementing, so they say they're implementing democracy, but how do you implement democracy when government goes into private industry and takes over that industry and takes their wealth away and caps what they're allowed to actually make? At the same time, what caused the rich 1% to gain 2/3 of all the wealth that was created over the last 3 years since 2020, of that roughly $42 trillion in global wealth? How did they create that? And why didn't it go to the lower 99%? Well, we got to break down what happened. It happened during the COVID-19 pandemic. It happened at a time when government told individuals to stay at home because, well, they were going to die from COVID-19. It happened at a time when government said you need to wear a mask and self-isolate at home, and if you're in retail especially, if you're in hospitality especially, if you're in any type of customer service especially, you can't be working, so we're going to shut down your mom and pop small business. Take the United States for an example, where 98% of all GDP growth and revenue is created by private industry, and not just private industry, but small business being defined as a business that has less than 500 employees in the United States. 98% of all the wealth and job growth in this country is based on small business. But what industries were allowed to stay open? The big box stores, the Walmarts, the major conglomerates, the corporations that have places all over the place. You couldn't go into a small mom and pop business that could hold 20 people in there, but you could go to the Walmart where you're supposed to self-isolate and wear the stupid little 6-foot distance things and stand on the little square and the little arrow that says you're 6 feet apart from each other so you don't die from COVID. But you could go to that store where there's 1,000 people in there. You just couldn't go to the small business that could hold 20, 30, 40 people, because you would be contained in a small area and you would die from COVID-19. So while the top 1%, that's the corporation owners, not to be hating on them, they benefited from it, did they not? Because they were allowed to stay open. That was the essential business. You as the small business, or you maybe as the worker in a factory, or you as the business owner that may have a small mom and pop retail or a bar or a nightclub or a restaurant, or the ones that really drive local economies, you weren't allowed to be open, and therefore you couldn't get any wealth because no one was coming in to buy your products because they weren't allowed to do so. So again, with opposite land, with the whole identity politics from the beginning of the program, how does this make sense to anyone? The top 1% gained 2/3 of all the profits and all the wealth generating during the COVID-19 pandemic. Oh, really? Because the economy took a dump in the United States, and I'm sure it did everywhere else in other countries as well, when they said that no one was working because no one could go to work. So everybody was on social programs. We were getting our stimulus checks from the government. We were getting our universal basic income, a.k.a. the child tax credits that we were getting on a monthly paycheck as well. We were getting all this from the government, and it wasn't stimulating the economy. The economy took a major dump with GDP. until everybody came back to work. And the Biden administration, after yelling and screaming from the private sector for months, said finally the pandemic's over, you can all get back to work. And boom, the economy jumped right back up as if it never missed a beat because people were allowed to go back to work again. But if they weren't creating the wealth, they weren't gaining any wealth to reinvest into their local economies. Who was gaining from it? The top 1%. The ones that were controlling the bottom 99% under a utopian system saying what you're allowed and not allowed to do. The top 1% that supposedly the progressives and Democrats hate, they were the ones gaining all of the wealth because they were the ones that didn't have to shut down. Oh, wait a second. So the whole socialism, redistribution of wealth, the ultra-rich, let's go ahead and tax them and regulate them because we don't like them. They were the ones that were allowed to benefit during the COVID-19 pandemic and make all the wealth because they were the only ones allowed to work and actually gain wealth, while we now claim that they're evil because they made all the wealth. At the same time, the vast majority of the investments that we saw at that time as well was the COVID-19 vaccine and masks and other healthcare industry things, the PPP stuff, the sanitizers and the gloves and the masks and everything else that we used during that time. The people that invested and manufactured and made those things, they were making lots of money, especially the ones that were part of the patents of the COVID-19 vaccine. But that's another conversation for another time. So how in the world are we, as the general common folk, just going about our business doing what we're doing, how are we supposed to go along with the idea that the evil 1% are evil, but yet there's a simple reason why they made all the money? It's because they were the only ones allowed to work while we were sitting at home dependent on a government check because that's what they told us we had to do because we were quote-unquote non-essential. And it does reaffirm the fact that while it is important for us to invest in the stock market and invest in Wall Street and in Main Street to some degree in the markets for us to continue to have new innovations, it shows that that itself does not actually continue the economy to grow the way that it needs to, because if you saw during the pandemic, they invested in those things. It didn't sustain the economy until everybody finally was able to get back to work, get into the factories, start driving their trucks again, go in and open up their retail shops, open up their restaurants, and then boom, just like that, the economy came back up. And then, of course, you had the Biden administration say, well, we created 10 million jobs. And that's just not true in any way, shape, or form as well. So thank you again for the opinions there. But they want us to say that we need to be hating the rich 1% while they're the ones hyping up the rich 1% across the globe, while they're telling us we have to stay at home and then wonder why we're not creating any wealth from our side of the aisle. They're, again, creating opposite land by having some effect and saying that they want some outcome when the opposite effect actually happens, whether intended or unintended consequences they are. The rich continue to get richer under a socialist program. The working gap and the wealth gap continues to widen, and the poverty rates continue to increase while they tell you to stay at home, get the government check, and we'll redistribute the wealth. Don't you worry, we're going after the evil, ultra top 1% and evil rich in this nation. I don't think people are going to buy this. And if they do, then maybe they need a bit of a history lesson or just an economics lesson or just to look outside their window and see what's happened over the last couple of years. But I think that trying to pitch people the ultra 1% making all that money is a bad thing. I think it's going to make people question, well, wait a second, how did they get it? And why wasn't I able to make that? Oh, yeah, that's right, because you told me I wasn't allowed to go outside my front door, get some vitamin C from the sun, and go open up my shop for the consumers in my local community to buy products from me. Oh, yeah. Darn it. That doesn't make any sense, does it?
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Andy Hooser here, reminding you not only can you listen to the Voice of Reason on your favorite radio station, but also check out the video of the program on TV and online. We're excited to be working with our partners over at OpsLens to bring the Voice of Reason live every day on their website at opslens.com, on the OpsLens app that you can download on any of your smartphones, or on any of the OpsLens social media. It's a great network that broadcasts multiple shows promoting truth, reason, and common sense, reaching thousands of viewers every day, all day long. Plus, while you're there, you can always watch some of the best highlights of the show during the weekends or read our latest opinion columns on topical issues of the day. Also, if you want to interact with me during the program, just leave a comment on their social media or the OpsLens app stream. You can always join the live chat rooms, or if it's easier, just email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Again, that's HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. This is your show, and we want to hear from you. Why? Because it's time for you to be your own voice of reason in your own community. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You want some more reason throughout the day? Well, now it's easier than ever to find. Here's what you do. Check out the website at HooserReason.com. There you can find past shows, links to all of our social media, special features, our monthly blogs, and a heck of a lot more. Plus, make sure to check in frequently as we're constantly working to add more goodies that you'll really enjoy. Also, you can always subscribe and follow our social media sites for bonus content, articles that we use on the show, or maybe some additional rants. Yeah, it's all that and so much more. Check it all out at HooserReason.com. Looking for more reason? Well, now you can get even more content from the Voice of Reason through our Patreon site. It's your exclusive membership for being the ultimate Hoosier-holic. On our Patreon, you'll get additional interviews and content that we don't get to air on the radio, behind-the-scenes action from the Hoosier Media Network, plus one-on-one video streams where you can catch up with me, guests of the show, and other great Voice of Reason supporters. Plus, you can also support the show by checking out our gear and swag. Find the link on our website at HooserReason.com. Again, that's HooserReason.com. Become the ultimate Hoosier-holic. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. As we continue to grow as a radio and TV program, we're continuously working behind the scenes to try and bring more common sense and reason to more patriotic Americans all over the country. That's why we're super excited to be working with the OpsLens team to bring you the voice of reason every single day. OpsLens is a national online network bringing you incredible content all day from hosts all over the country. And each host brings their own unique experience and expertise to the current events, reaching hundreds of thousands of patriotic Americans daily. Make sure to check out their website at opslens.com. Make sure to download the OpsLens website and follow them on all of these social media sites that you like so you can watch all their live streaming content, including ours right here with the Voice of Reason. Plus, if you want more of the Voice of Reason, check out our website online at HooserReason.com. There you can listen to the live audio feed of the show every single day. You can read our monthly blog. You can check out our satire infomercials. You can see pictures of what we're doing, upcoming schedule of events, and a heck of a lot more. On the website, you can find our list of radio and TV affiliates in your area. Find our social media links, and while you're there, sign up for our free newsletter. Over the last 2 years, your Voice of Reason newsletter has grown exponentially. It's completely free, and in it we give you your monthly motivation, upcoming civic holidays for the month, a recap from the show from last month, upcoming guests on the program, along with the latest news from our Hoosier Media Network. It's pretty simple. All you got to do is go to the website at HooserReason.com and become the next Hoosier-holic. Finally, follow us on all of our social media sites. With the iron grip control on content from the radical left, unless you follow us, you're not going to be able to see us. It's been an ongoing battle with shadow banning on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, where even our own fans are having a hard time finding our content. But the battle isn't over. We'll continue to bring you the best content we can on as many platforms as possible. You can follow us with the handle at Hoosier Reason. No matter what social media site you like to use, you can find us there. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch.tv, Instagram, TikTok, OurFreedomBook.com, Parler, and of course our website at HooserReason.com. Don't miss it while we give you a heads up on some of the events that I may be attending or speaking at, updates of behind-the-scene projects, or just something sarcastic to try and rile up the left. The battle for freedom is real, and we want to be part of that battle as we want you to be your own voice of reason in your own community. Conservative principles happen at the grassroots level, and that's what we're here to help with. And together, you and I can fight back against this virus that's spreading across the nation that is socialist policy, trying to destroy this country. We can bring us back to some constitutional values, some individual sovereignty, and the right for you to be able to make your own choices when you deem necessary for you, your family, and your community. In a world of fake news and information overload, it's time to bring back some reason, common sense, guidance, and a little bit of wisdom. And that's what we're here to do. This is the Voice of Reason.
Fighting for freedom every day. The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Welcome back into the program. Last few minutes of the show here on a Monday for the Voice of Reason. Trying to cram that 10 pounds reason into that 5-pound bag. Trying to bring common sense, reason, rationale back into the daily conversation. And it's mind-numbing. I just had to put on, by the way, if you're watching the video feed, if my eyes are red, I just had to put on peppermint oil around. Nice little holistic trick if you have a headache. Put some peppermint oil around your temples there, and that helps get rid of the headache, but it burns your eyes. And yeah, I got a headache after thinking about all the stupid that's going on the left side of the aisle, and had to make sure I do some preventative steps to make sure that doesn't grow any worse It's not a tumor. It's not a tumor. Yeah, got the headache going on. Nonetheless, so now we're here today. We have the ongoing hatred with the identity politics, the division that we have between the white, the black, and the white and the yellow, and the white and whatever other skin color they try to create as identity politics of, oh, you're white, you're probably the most evil human being on the face of the earth. If you're a white heterosexual male, then you just need to give up because you will have no chance in our world now because you've had everything forever. Instead of just looking at the individual level of where people are at in their personal lives. Now we have the World Economic Forum that's meeting, and they're discussing what to do because they also recognize the fact that the top 1% of wealth earners created and gained 2/3 of all the wealth that was created since the COVID-19 pandemic. The gap of wealth is dividing between the ultra-rich and the poverty line individuals. So I'm sure they're going to be talking about what to do, and this is going to be the direction they push. We need to hate them. We need to redistribute. We need to take their wealth, tax it, regulate it. And the only way we can do that is to get more power for the government to be allowed to do that. How do we hold them accountable? Well, we create the larger government. How do we create the government accountable? Well, you're just going to have to trust us because don't worry, we totally won't take advantage of you in any way, shape, or form. We'll just give you what you are needing because we will provide for you. We also have another issue that's coming up this week that I'm sure you're going to be hearing about a lot over the next few days, and that, of course, the debt ceiling here in the nation. Because according to Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, says that we are out of money by Thursday of this week. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So now, we already spent a $1.7 trillion omnibus package during the holidays and right around Christmas time, the week of Christmas. And already, the first 3 weeks of January, the federal government has run out of money. Our federal budget doesn't end until the end of September. We have 9 months left until we're out of our budget, but we're already out of money. Democrats say that cutting spending is a non-starter. I want to repeat that for you. While the government's out of money until the end of September, meaning we have to figure out how to spend and pay for our bills for the next 9 months because it's all gone. It's all gone. We now have 9 months to figure out how to deal with our federal budget. The government says that cutting spending is a non-starter for the federal budget. That, according to the Biden administration, as they say that they don't want to cut. So Kevin McCarthy says that we need to sit down and have a conversation, which I get it. Try and be nice. Let's work together here. Let's hold hands, sing kumbaya. Let's try and figure out a happy medium here. But this is what we have to do. The Biden administration has already come out openly and said, yeah, no, cutting spending is not a non-starter. We need to, what they recommend is suspend the debt ceiling to where we can spend as much as we possibly need to throughout the rest of the year. So that way we don't have any issues because they have some big spending plans on the horizon. As we've said during the big debate in battle with the speaker's vote with Kevin McCarthy was, will he stand firm against Democrats when they propose a massive spending bill or new project or new department or new agency or whatever else they're going to do? Will he be able to stop it and fight for it and be willing to shut down the government? Well, that debate has come sooner than what we anticipated. Now, the Treasury Department says they can maneuver around and do some extreme maneuvering, is their words, to be able to get us through and pay our debts minimally until summertime, while they advocate for a debt ceiling raise or a debt ceiling suspension in some way, shape, or form. They can at least get it through until summertime, which, okay, cool, we have a little bit of time to discuss. There's nothing to discuss. What needs to happen, and we mentioned it on Friday as this news broke, but it's not going to happen, bit of a pipe dream for us. I totally get it. The real rational thing we need to be doing is completely suspend the $1.7 trillion omnibus package, look at it again, actually cut it by, a half or 3/4 or something, and then present it and repass it and say starting February 1st is going to be a new omnibus package going into the rest of the year that's not going to completely drain all of our funds for the next 9 months into the end of fiscal year 2023. It's unlikely that's going to happen, but that's what needs to happen. Republicans, stay firm because your next first big challenge is right in front of us. Will we be willing to shut down the government until the Democrats cave and actually start looking at a budget and cutting some funding from the federal government? Because if not, we're in for a long 9 months of battling with Democrats on raising the debt ceiling and spending a hell of a lot more money that's going to cause an economic disaster. That does it for us today. Podcast up in just a little bit. Until then, be your own voice of reason. It's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. This is The Voice of Reason. I'm Andy Hooser. We'll see you on the radio. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You know, when I get off the air every day, the battle for me against limited government, censorship, and even unfactual content is far from over. That's why now I'm so happy to say that the Hooser Media Network is giving you more opportunity to catch the voice of reason along with other great shows and podcasts. It's been a long time in the works, and now you can finally enjoy more great content, services, and topical shows. We're the safe space for alternative talk, information, and ideas that the mainstream media absolutely hates. From holistic and alternative medicine, discussions on religion and spirituality, pure entertainment shows, and of course yours truly with the voice of reason. Plus, we offer numerous media services